Welcome back, everybody. If you've been following along with my latest videos, you'll have seen that I am trying to replicate some of the fireplace decor designs that I found in the Better Homes and Gardens magazine this year. In fact, we took a vote earlier as to which of the designs we liked best. There was a pumpkin one, a sort of black and white trick-or-treat one, a witch theme, and a frame with birds theme. And although most of you voted for this fantastic pumpkin theme with this standout mirror with the jack-o'-lantern face on it and all these spilling pumpkins, I decided not to go with that one. I'm going with the witch theme, as you all know, but I had decided that we were going to still try and incorporate these elements elsewhere in my house. And I was going to use this pumpkin mirror with pumpkins in my entryway area where I was going to have my headless horseman, and all the pumpkins would be surrounding my headless horseman, and this would be sort of the focal point, the mirror. I'm not going to do that. As usual, as I'm working through these things, my ideas and plans change. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. We're still going to try today to make this mirror, but I'll probably still end up putting it in my entryway with the headless horseman, but I'm not going to do the spill out of the pumpkins because I want to use them outside this year. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Actually, I have an idea. I've always wanted to do those heads in jars. So I was going to maybe do a whole bunch of them. I've been collecting pickle jars for this project for a couple of years and I've just never done it. But I thought it would be fun to have just like a huge assortment of heads by the headless horseman, all in jars. Anyway, it's a concept. It probably won't happen either. Stay tuned, we'll see. But I'm still going to make the mirror because this mirror is awesome. So the one problem that I thought I would have with the mirror was finding the right mirror. I went on Amazon. I thought I would try and find some fun mirrors. I did buy this mirror from Amazon. It was about $12. It's got this sort of white ornate frame. It's obviously way too small for my big giant standout pumpkin mirror. But I thought since we are again incorporating the mirrors, well, not the mirrors, the frames, into the frame project, where I'm going to be doing this one elsewhere in my house. Stay tuned for that later. I'm actually going to, instead of using an empty frame, I'm going to use the mirrors. So this is one I'm going to use. But the good thing about this mirror, I wish I would have found one that was bigger. I probably would have bought it because, as I'm going to tell you, you do need a sort of oval shape, and I'll show you why in a minute. But I also found this fun mirror from the Goodwill store, and it's got this awesome frame. So I am also going to use this in my frame design. It was 13 something from the Goodwill. So it's square. Unfortunately, that's not going to work. So I ended up buying this mirror from the Home Depot. I like this mirror. It is a quatrefoil design, and which just kind of is that look there. And the reason that this was important is because when you look at the actual pumpkin design, because I'm trying to replicate what they've done as closely as possible, and you see how they've got that mouth that's kind of cut off right there? I really think that's integral to the design. And in order to do that, you have to have, I mean, it can't be square, otherwise that smile is going to fill up the mirror. So, in fact, I think they use, a quatrefoil design mirror. So I'm going to attempt that with this one. I'm hoping it'll be big enough to get that smile in the crooked shape that they have it. We'll see here in a few minutes. So I printed out some, I wanted to use the exact same smile pumpkin face that they have used here. So I basically, all I did was I took a picture of this because unlike the last years, they used to have all of these things on the Better Homes and Gardens website as a printable, so you could print things out and enlarge it. I love that. I don't know why they're not doing it this year. So I had to take a picture of this with my phone, sent it to my computer, just blew it up a little bit. I mean, I first tried printing it out regularly. That's obviously going to be too small for my giant mirror. So I just sort of cut it in half and printed out, whoops, somehow, oh, that was my test one. That was wrong. Throw that down there. So I've got two halves. Hopefully that'll be a big enough pumpkin face. We'll see here in a minute. The other thing we're going to need would be the orange paper. I bought this fadeless orange paper from Amazon. It's for like bulletin boards for teachers and whatnot. It's supposed to, well, not fade, hopefully. And I'm hoping it's a little bit thicker because it's kind of thicker. It's like a heavier wrapping paper. You can get wrapping paper from the dollar store. So I know they sell this paper at Joann Fabrics. I don't know how much they paid because they didn't, I don't know how much they sell it for. They didn't have it in stock when I went to buy it, but they had it on Amazon. So I bought it from Amazon. I think it was like $12 for this roll. This roll was $1 from the dollar store. So pick your battles, whichever one you think fits your budget, because this one, the dollar store paper, is a lot thinner and it's going to tear very easy, which is what I'm worried about. So I'm going to use my heavier paper and see how that works. So let's just go ahead and open up my mirror and see what it looks like in person. This mirror, I don't know if I just mentioned it, was $60 from Home Depot, which is a little more than I think I would want to pay. In fact, like I said, I was trying to find one at the Goodwill, but finding one that met my criteria just wasn't happening. And, you know, if I had all year to look, great, that would have worked, but it's almost Halloween, so we've got to work with what we can. So here's my mirror. Hopefully, I should have cleaned my room. I hope it's not reflecting all the stuff in my room. So let me go ahead and put the box down here on the floor. Got my mirror, and the reason that I was kind of happy with this one, as I was going to say, is that it very much matches. I've got a similar mirror that we also bought at Home Depot in my guest bathroom downstairs, except it's the square version. So I figured this at least kind of coordinates. It makes some sort of semblance of sense. And after Halloween, I have an place for it. I'm going to put it on my mantle in the basement. So it all kind of works. It was pricey, but I'll be happy with it. All right, so let's just take a quick look and see if my smiling pumpkin is gonna work. Another look at the picture real quick. Yeah, okay. So they've got it going like so. So the trick is you want to get the two jack-o'-lantern eyes just inside the frame, and then that is going to cut off the bottom bit of the mouth. So there we go. I'm not happy with the size of this. So let me go back to the drawing board. I'm going to see what I can print out to make this just a little bit bigger. Because if we're going by the picture in the magazine, the smile should come basically to, a good 3/4 way down the mirror. So the eyes will be much larger, fill up this space here. So let me go ahead and figure that out, and I'll be back. All right, it took several more trial and error sheets to get what I think is the right size. So I kind of eyeballed it. I ended up printing out each piece, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and just kind of eyeballing it all at once to see how it would fit here on the mirror. And for the mouth, I cut it in half so it fit on the page and just print it out twice. So I can just reverse one, which I cut out here, and we can just kind of guesstimate. And there it goes. It fits in the mirror in about the same configuration as what it was in the magazine. So I'm happy with it. A lot of effort. Okay, so the next step is to cut out our orange paper in the shape of the mirror. Now, the magazine says use craft paper to trace out the mirror shape and then transfer it onto your orange paper. I don't have craft paper. I don't know if that's something special, but the good thing about this giant roll of orange paper is that it has many feet. So I figured I will just cut out as close as I can. Now see, this paper has wrinkled somewhat. Hopefully that'll work itself out. But yeah, those wrinkles really stand out. So make sure you don't get wrinkled paper. Anyway, I'm just going to try and do my best to get it close with one sheet, and then if I have to redo it or use that to trace onto a better sheet, we'll do it that way. So let's go ahead and cut this. All right, put that down there. So, oh, this is going to be fun. Arts and crafts. All right, so I guess I'm just going to cut this a little bit closer here. Oops. Paper wants to roll up on itself. So just sort of flatten it out here. I guess that is the best way to do it. Let's see. I'm just going to kind of crease where I don't even know the best way to do this. Let's just start cutting and hope for the best. So hopefully I can just cut right along the seam and it will cut. It will not cut very easily. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but this paper tears very easy. So, all right, that looks awful. All right, here is a tip, because trying to trace around that frame was not happening. Fortunately, I looked on the back of my mirror and I noticed it had some screws. It had 24 tiny little screws. So I took out all of the screws and just popped off the back. Fortunately, Home Depot makes cheap products. So when I took the back off, I found the mirror here, and it was just hot glued into the frame itself, which is kind of just a cheap plasticky frame. So I peeled off the hot glue where I could. Where I couldn't peel it off easily, I used an X-Acto blade to just trim it, and then it pulled out. So be very careful if you're going to do that. But then the mirror itself just pops right out. So here is now my new template. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to trace it onto the, actually probably, might be easier to trace it right onto the mirror. Then we can have, we don't have to worry about the edge so much. I imagine once we'll tape it to the edges of the mirror, put it in place so you're not going to see those edges because of the frame overlap, and we've just saved ourselves a lot of hassle. Okay, this really didn't take that long to cut out. However, it's very touchy, and that's why a couple of things you'll notice. I removed my tablecloth because you definitely want to work on a flat surface. And two, it's upside down for you because I am not touching it. This paper wrinkles very easy, and with it, with any sort of wrinkles in it, it completely ruins the effect. So it took me 3 times to get it the way it is. Okay, I am touching it. So let me just show you. All I did was I took an X-Acto knife. That's the easy way to do it. Put the paper face down. I put the mirror on top of it, and I just sort of scored the paper with the X-Acto knife, and then the paper just peeled away at the exact size of the mirror. I've temporarily taped it with one piece of tape there. And I've got my template sort of placed here where I need it. Again, I'm being careful to not touch it as much as possible. I don't want it to wrinkle at this point. But I'm just going to trace out the drawing and then hopefully get it cut out without causing more wrinkles in the paper. And then that should be pretty much done. So let me go ahead, trace it out, cut it out, and show you what it looks like. I am the person that kind of likes 5-minute crafts, so this project is like torture for me because I had to go very slow and very methodically and use my X-Acto knife and a cutting board and ever so carefully cut out all of these shapes, and I think I did it. The only thing I have to do is carefully extract this board without catching or wrinkling anything. There we go. Then I think it's ready for framing. I'm just going to kind of line up the pumpkin here on the mirror. I'm going to tape the edges just right on the very edge so that it does not move. The alternative with this, if you don't have a mirror that you can pull apart like this, is using double stick tape, which again for me seems like it would be a nightmare. I'm just going to carefully on the very tip, hopefully that's not going to show, tape that down. I'm hoping, you know, the frame should be enough to hold this in place, but I did manage to get everything cut out without any added wrinkles, so I'm very excited about how this is turning out. I think it looks great. Get this little edge taped here carefully, as little as possible. Okay. All right, got this little edge pieces on the bottom. Because I guess you probably could put some double stick tape to hold the teeth in place, because I guess it kind of bows just a little bit. But I don't have any double stick tape, so I can get some. But for now, for our purposes, we are not going to do that. Okay. The problem with taping it into place is if you didn't have it perfectly flat, it does kind of bow just a little bit. And I think I'm developing a slight wrinkle. We don't like wrinkles, but let's go ahead and stick the frame on. I'm going to, all right, let's try putting it on upside down into the frame slot without wrinkling it. Probably, oh, see this edge is coming undone. Let me try and tape that down just a little bit more. Hopefully keep it all nice and flat. Tape that a little more. Okay, we're just going to carefully slide it into the frame slots. Let's see what happens. Okay, there it is. Okay, well, it's a little awkward, but there we go. I think it looks fantastic. I definitely do need to put some double stick tape around the eyes and those little teeth. But let me go ahead and stick the back on. And there we go. Now the good thing about doing it this way too is it's going to be very easy to remove, because we don't want to do this project again next year. And once we remove it, we can just leave it on the back side of the frame. So next year when we go to take it out again, we'll just take that piece of paper out and flip it around. So, all right, I'm putting my last screw in now. My hands are cramping up from all these tiny, tiny little screws, but I'm excited to see what it looks like. Now, when you put your back on, I started putting this on the wrong way. Thankfully, I figured out what I was doing wrong before I finished, because this mirror has 2 hooks at the top and 2 hooks on one side, so you can hang it in either direction. Well, if you're going to be hanging this, you want to make sure that you keep your hooks at the top where your jack-o'-lantern face is, so you wouldn't want it to be upside down. But there we go. So again, he's just a little popping out in maybe 3 places. I think if I just put 3 pieces of tape, I should be able to be fine, maybe 4. Now, I did find in my cabinet of goodies these glue dots. I'm going to go ahead and try to use them now. Getting the hang of this. Look at me, I'm crafting now. Always wanted to be a crafter. Put my glue dot. Peel this back off. Now, I don't know if this is going to be, if it's going to make it much harder to salvage this paper next year, but at this point, I don't care. I just want to be done. All right, so lay that down carefully. Voila, all right. 1,000 times better. What do you think? The only thing left to do now is stick it in place. Now, It's going to go in my entryway, but I've barely started doing anything in there, so for the moment, I'm going to stick it in the bare spot on my fireplace in the living room. So let me know what you think. Is this a project you'd want to do? Now that I know all the tricks and tips, it was fairly easy. Again, use your X-Acto knife, be very careful, make sure your paper's not wrinkled. It's all about preparation. Make sure your area is clear so that nothing's going to mess you up, and just take your time. I hate taking my time. So this project probably took me an hour. I don't know, most of that time was probably unscrewing the back of that mirror. But definitely, if you can get a mirror that the back can come off, I mean, it made it so much easier. I cannot imagine how much effort it would have taken to try and trace the mirror portion itself and cut around it. That would have been a nightmare. But that's it. So until next time, guys, well, make sure you stay tuned to the very end where I show you what it looks like up in place, but that's it. So until next time, take care. Happy haunting.